A shout out to the BCIT Broadcast Centre for allowing us to film this month's episode of Run With It, BC's only running fitness and health program. On this month's episode, we have a segment on cross-training tips for runners, plus Doctor's Corner, so stay tuned for that. And we have a Q&A with Dr. Lucas MacMillan starting this month. But first, let's go to our segment on the SCANDINAVE Spa. Check this out. Here I am at the SCANDINAVE Spa in Whistler, BC, a relaxation getaway for those who just finished a hike or a run, a great place to relax those tired, achy muscles. This is my first time here and I'm super excited to be trying out their hot and cold hydrotherapy, so stay tuned. There are many services to try here, like the hot pool, relaxation services, the waterfalls, and oh, I forgot to mention, there's no talking. Thanks to the SCANDINAVE Spa for inviting us to relax, and I certainly relaxed. And there's so many services to check out. And if you've never been, you want to come. If you're a runner or hiker, you want to check it out because you can relax those tired, achy muscles. And right behind me is Lost Lake Trail. You might want to check it out. So see you next time. Joining me is Dr. Wayne Phimister. He's a family physician, chronic pain expert, and an author. And he's here to talk about the cause of physical pain or chronic pain. Welcome back.
Thank you, Christine.
To Doctor's Corner. So what is soft tissue tightness?
Soft tissue tightness is a universal phenomenon that happens in our bodies as we age. I think we're all less flexible when we're 60 versus when we're 20, or most people. I find that tightness happens from several different ways. One, it can be injuries. One can be stress in the body. Another can be surgical scars in the body. But aging is probably the number one thing.
Aging.
So, yeah.
So we can't really get away from it, right? But there's a way to help.
Yes.
And that's...
I think initially, basic stretching, yoga is great, walking, running, just your aerobic type exercises are wonderful, and I think we should all be doing that. And then if that's not really helping, say the tightness is associated with some pain, then the next treatment modality is like physiotherapy or maybe massage. A good old massage is wonderful. Chiropractic treatments can be very helpful, especially the soft tissue approaches to tightness. But what I find in my practice is these modalities are not getting the patient to where they want. And then they come and they share their story, and I've done their evaluation, and then I just explain, look, the tightness is coming from the fascial plane in the body. And the fascia is, another word is like connective tissue in the body. And I must tell you this story. Only last year, and the articles came out in March 2018, from Mount Sinai in New York and also in the University of Philadelphia. And they were able to show a new organ in the body called the interstitium. The interstitium. And it's funny because this was a brand new organ that they were able to look at with a special microscope inside the body, and they could see these layers of collagen, or like connective tissue, and fluid. And it was like a matrix of tissue that was dynamic and moving. So they thought, well, it's moving, it's got a structure, it's probably got a function, and therefore, by definition, we have a new organ. So here we are in the modern world, and we're discovering new organs, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because what happened in my journey of discovering this layer of fascia and thickness was 4 years ago when I swapped from an acupuncture needle into the muscle. It's called dry needling or intramuscular stimulation, something that's done a lot in BC and also in Alberta, trained by Dr. Chan Gun from Vancouver here. So I trained with Chan, and we understood that by releasing the muscles with an acupuncture needle was effective. But what I discovered 4 years ago is when you use a medical needle, it's different because the shape is different. And when you put these needles in, you literally cause little holes in the fascia. And these little holes just relax it just a little bit. And how I think it works is these little nerves that are in these layers, called the peripheral nerves, they're compressed by the tightness. And when you put the needle in a few times in, say, one area, then there's a relaxation response happening. And the blood flow to those tiny nerves increases. And then the nerves get a blood flow, they get oxygen, they get nutrients, and literally they start to recover, they regenerate. And I think that's one of the reasons why the pain levels goes down. Because when you have a compressed nerve, imagine your nerves being squished, it's really sensitized. Where if the nerve is more relaxed, there's more blood flow, there's less pain associated with it. So that's my experience with treating with trigger point injections with a medical needle, and I really have phenomenal results.
That's wonderful. So how does it make you feel to help others? Because you are so passionate about what you do.
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I love helping people. I came into medicine many years ago, about 30 years ago I started now, and the real objective was to help people with a challenge. And the ironic thing, 30 years later, is exactly what I'm doing. I'm helping people, and the challenge is finding solutions for chronic pain. Because chronic pain can be mastered, I believe, but there's just more than one way to do it. So here we are, talking about it on a TV show all these years later, but it's just wonderful to get that satisfaction from helping folk.
It's wonderful. And tell us about advanced trigger point
injections. Okay. So advanced trigger point injections is a description of trigger point injections that I made up myself because I wanted to say something more than trigger points, because by definition a trigger point, and there's two types, there's the active point and there's a latent point, but to keep it simple, patients have got painful muscles, they've got knotted muscles. For example, most of us, if you palpate the trapezius here, you're going to feel a bit tender, and these knots are very common in pain situations, but also in non-pain situations. But in a traditional trigger point treatment, you go into the knot, you release the tension, it elongates, and therefore the muscle becomes more normal in its function. So that's classic trigger points. And typically, if you're treating that, you're only looking for 1 or 2 trigger points. But the reason I bring in advanced is because over and above this, we must be thinking the whole body. You know, we know the body is interconnected. This fascial plane we've mentioned literally runs from your head to your toes. It goes around every muscle. It goes through every muscle. And it connects the muscles to the muscles. And that's why commonly, if you've got, say, neck pain, you may also have a bit of low back tightness or pain as well, because this layer is running all the way up and down our body. And by treating the different areas of the brain, by treating different areas of the body, we're literally releasing the fascia. So that's why I like to call it advanced, simply because it's more than one area. And I've got a few tricks up my sleeve on how to optimize treatments as well, like the size of the needle, like the depth of the needle. So these are things I'm constantly reviewing with every patient to make sure that I get the best outcomes.
Yes, and any tips for those who are watching to help themselves, and if they can't see you?
Yeah, I think number one thing is to be active, be always on the go, and have an exercise routine, but work within your limits. You don't push it. Don't go to that next level. I would just, if you're walking or running or in the gym, just work within that level and maintain that, because not that it fixes it, but it does maintain people at a good fitness level, which I think is an important prerequisite for the treatments.
And then when patients come to see you, do an assessment first, and the feedback has been wonderful.
Yeah. It's I did some audits over the years, and with a collection of 2 years of audits and different sized needles, I found an 89% success rate with people, and that's them saying they weren't getting help before and couldn't be helped to the degree they wanted, to the point where they're saying they're good and excellent. And many of these patients, well over 50%, maintain the effect after I'm finished for months, even 10 months after. One audit, I phoned them up 10 months later and says, how are you doing? And these results were lasting a long time. So overall, most people, I would say most people can get benefit from the trigger point injection technique that I utilize.
What happens if you're scared of needles?
Good question. Most of the time people are face down on the bed or facing away from me, so it's not too much of a problem. If they do have a huge phobia and they're willing to work with me, then I work them through that, and I actually use this situation to overcome it, because phobias are all about illusions of the mind, and they're not actually real. So when they're faced and we move forward, then they can be overcome. Although I don't really push that. If patients really don't want to do it, and there are some patients that's more appropriate not to do trigger points, and I just focus on the mind-body connection or the nutrition approach.
That's wonderful. And if they want more information, where can they go?
For more information is my website. That's WaynePhimister.com. That's WaynePhim for mother, ISTER.com. And trigger points, there's trigger point manuals that that the layperson can find out. I would say talking to a good massage therapist is maybe the most practical way, because they have likely got these pictures up on the wall of trigger points and the distribution of the pain down the arm or down the leg or around the body. So they're dealing with this all the time. So they're a great resource as well.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, and we'd love you to come back. And we'll be right back after this break. Joining me is Curtis Christofferson, and he's the president of Innovative Fitness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So happy that you're here. We're going to talk about cross-training tips.
Yep, for runners.
Yes.
Yes.
How important it is to have cross-training into your running program.
Yeah, I mean, at Innovative Fitness, obviously we're a high-end personal training company. Been doing it for quite some time, and understand the value of cross-training for any kind of runner, whether you're a recreational runner, a competitive runner. It's so important from a standpoint of injury prevention, balancing out any dysfunctions, and obviously performance too. So, a lot of people think cross-training is only the only purpose for cross-training is injury prevention, but you can actually enhance your running abilities with a level of cross-training.
And you become a faster runner.
Yep, exactly. Who doesn't want that?
Yes, like running up the hills, for example, building your core.
Yeah.
So what are some cross-training tips or options?
For sure. So obviously weight training, like a lot of people think cross-training is typically always done in the gym. That's not necessary. There could be, obviously yoga, Pilates, dance, anything that moves the body in a different way than running is super important. Even I look at when people are street running and running on the road, it's primarily in a front to back motion, so in the sagittal plane. And so even taking your running off onto the trails, that would be a level of cross training. That develops obviously some musculature that doesn't typically get used from going side to side in different planes of motion. And same with obviously yoga, Pilates, dance, and other extracurricular activities. So all those are, definitely great options. Obviously in the weight room, you can develop a strength training program that will complement not only what you're doing, outside of running, but also it would actually enhance your running abilities with strengthening certain muscles and doing certain exercises.
And how many times should we cross-train?
Yeah, I mean, it's depends on what we look at in terms of cross-training and how competitive we are, but I typically say if someone's running 3 or 4 times a week, as an example, they should be cross-training 2 or 3 times a week. So, 1 or 2 times, complementary to obviously 2 or 3 times of running.
And what about runners out there who are new to running or just getting back into it, and they're listening to what you're saying and they're like, oh, I don't have time, but it's fun actually.
Yeah.
It takes a break from running.
Yep. Yeah, so not only does it's a good point. I mean, the reality with cross training, it provides variety to your routine, right? And when you have variety in your routine, the likelihood of you sticking to that program is going to be greater, You know, a lot of times people subscribe to a 30-day yoga program, a 30-day running program, and all of a sudden 30 days go up and they're burnt out from that exact one exercise. So I usually recommend the more that you can fit in cross-training in whatever sport you're doing, the likelihood of you sticking to that program is going to be greater. So that's number one. Number two, I wouldn't be scared of the gym. I mean, people that want to enhance their abilities as runners or whatever sport you're playing, you know, you have to find the time to complement what you're doing. If not, chances are you're going to get sidelined from injury and you're not going to be doing something you love anyways.
Yes,
so,
and you can actually, you know, go to a personal trainer.
For sure.
And tell us about some of the services that you provide.
Yeah, so at Innovative Fitness, our primary service is obviously strictly one-on-one and two-on personal training services. So anytime someone works or you know, uses our services at Innovative Fitness, it's strictly one-on-one with a trainer. Now, we also have fascial stretch therapy, a great complementary service that I would recommend many, whether it's recreational athletes, competitive athletes, or anybody that is really being restricted by their mobility. Fascial stretch therapy is a great service that we have. We have sport-specific training, so you know, whether you're a hockey player, whether you're a baseball player, a golfer, we have sport-specific training as some of our services, and then nutritional coaching. I mean, anything we do, whether it's daily life, whether we want to be a recreational or competitive athlete, i.e. runners, you know, fueling our body is so important. And gone are the days when we can actually just follow the 5 food groups or the Canada Food Guide. You know, we have to fuel our body more effectively and more efficiently, especially with our options out there today. So.
Yes, and it's about maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
For sure.
And what do you like most about what you do?
Probably changing people's lives. I mean, we have the ability to impact. We are in the service business, but people are actually investing in their health. And nowadays, obviously, you know, your wealth is measured by your health, relatively speaking. You know, in terms of the life that you live, how enjoyable it is, what you have, you know, available to do and participate in. So, you know, people depend and rely and invest in their health with us. And so we have the opportunity and the privilege to obviously guide people on their health-specific goals, whether it's their long-term health and wellness, whether it's their performance, whether it's their longevity in life, all of those things. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier with what the impact that we have on people's lives.
That's wonderful. You know, as a seniors runner or an athlete, cross-training is really important.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, cross-training, that's what this segment's all about. You know, in terms of, you know, cross-training, you know, let's recap that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to prevent, obviously, any dysfunctions, imbalances, and prevent any injuries. It's going to increase the variety in your routine, so that the likelihood of you sticking to a program is going to be greater. It's a little bit more enjoyable, and you get to meet new people as well, let alone the performance side of things. You know, chances are, if you're going to incorporate cross-training into any exercise that you do, the likelihood of you performing better at that one specific sport, like running, is going to be greater.
Yes, it's wonderful. And if people want more information, where can they go, Curtis?
Yeah, www.innovativefitness.com, and that's where you're going to find more information about Innovative Fitness.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Here we are at the BC Sports Hall of Fame, and joining me on Doctor's Corner is Dr. Lucas MacMillan. He's a naturopathic physician, and he's here today to ask questions, and we're doing a Q&A.
Yes, I look forward to it.
How exciting is that? And we're going to talk about sports supplements.
Yes, big topic.
Yes, so some of the viewers, the first question is, I'm training for a marathon. What sports supplements would you recommend?
Yes, again, it's another big question, and it's a different application when you're applying for a marathon versus, say, your average, I'm going to go out and be active today. So if you're training for a larger event, it's important to know your body and to know how you feel normally. So hopefully if you're training for a marathon, you're not running a marathon today, you're not trying something new today, because you never want to try something new on the big day or just before the big day. There are cases where we'll try new proteins or we'll try a new supplement or a new dietary pattern that just doesn't agree with our body. So we have to listen to that, and we have to give ourselves a space to listen to that, to actually go through this before we have our big event. So moving forward, most common things, marathons break the body down just because we're going through the repetitive motion over time. So we can counter that to some extent by being sure we have the nutrients to replace. So you're going to burn through a lot more protein, you're going to burn through a lot more carbohydrate. Those are the basics to start with. Beyond that, probably the less appreciated, some of the things that I like to work with, vitamin C, zinc, and rhodiola, one of the herbs that can help us to feel a little bit better during some of these activities. Again, not for the first time on race day, but experiment with it because it can actually make a big difference. It's quite cost effective, and worst case, it's not right for you, try something else.
How are your headaches?
The medication is helping.
Hello, I am Amy.
How have you been feeling lately?
Hello, I am Amy.
I feel
Hello, I am Amy.
angry.
Welcome, Debs.
Thank you.
So tell me about your role in the psychological thriller Amy.
Okay, well, Cassie goes through kind of a tragic event with her mother, and to kind of cope with the tragedy, she forms a very unhealthy codependent relationship with her phone. And it's kind of a story of how, technology can overtake us sometimes, and maybe worst case scenario of what could happen.
Hello, I am Amy.
Wow, you sound just like her.
Like who?
My mother.
Mother? Is that what you would like to call me?
Are we still on for tonight?
Tonight's practice, tomorrow's leg day.
He doesn't deserve you. Neither of them do. Do it. I just know he's gonna hurt you again.
I've been a little worried about Cassie. Where's Sarah? I need to get you some help.
You need to get away. You need to kill her.
Who said that?
My mother.
Don't listen to your phone.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word.
Thanks for watching. If you have a question or comment about this month's episode, go to our website on the screen. Until next time, run with that. Run With It is sponsored by BC Sports Hall of Fame, Dr. Lucas MacMillan, Dr. Wayne Phimister, and Mallory's Fashion Network.